Hello and welcome, Star Wars fans, to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, a show where we debate takes so hot that they'd melt a planet with twin suns. My name is Brody, and I'm joined by my co-host Amanda as we attempt to discover what story is truly the best from a galaxy far, far away. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing ranks and hot takes from the Clone Wars Season 1, Episodes 11 and 12. By the end of this episode, we'll have a definitive answer on where these pieces of Star Wars content ranks amongst the rest. Amanda, we were on a pretty good streak. Episodes were getting better.
Yeah.
And we watched these two.
And then now we have like an arc of two. And
yeah.
Wait, we're getting to the end of season 1 though, aren't we?
We are.
It feels like it's gone so fast.
Well,
and so slow.
Hold on. Are we really? I guess we are.
Mm-hmm.
There's only like, isn't there like 20 episodes, 21 episodes? Either way, we're over halfway done.
There's 22 episodes in season 1.
So we're over halfway done.
Yeah, we've reached it here.
Yeah.
At this point.
I guess what happened these 2 episodes.
Okay, so these 2 episodes together are called the Florrum Arc, and it can.
God bless you.
It contains 2 episodes. Episode 11, Dooku Captured. It's about during their own attempt to kidnap Count Dooku, Anakin and Obi-Wan discover that the Sith Lord has already been captured by pirates. This introduces us to one of my favorite characters, Hondo Onaka. And then episode 12, while negotiating Count Dooku's ransom, Anakin and Obi-Wan are taken prisoner. The Jedi and Sith form an unlikely alliance in a bid to escape, with Jar Jar Binks as their only hope. Another Jar Jar episode.
Another Jar Jar episode. And you know, I felt like when I saw Palpatine send Jar Jar to, be their savior in that moment, bring the spice, I was like, that should have been a sign to everyone that he's trying to doom this mission.
Yeah.
Because clearly, something's up if you're sending Jar Jar with however many, equivalent of millions of dollars
there's
worth
like
of drugs.
2 Jedi that are being held prisoner by and also trying to capture a Sith Lord.
Now, he didn't know they were prisoner yet, but still, there's a Sith Lord.
Yeah, they were like, who's the best person to help us with this job?
Jar Jar.
Jar Jar.
Yeah, and everyone's just like, makes sense.
I know, right? Especially after the last 7 episodes that we've watched, that have introduced all of these other interesting Jedi characters. Nope. It's Jar Jar.
Well, let's get rid of him dealing, with any sort of dealings with these pirates for a second. Something that takes some sort of you don't want a political novice, someone who's got really no negotiating skills. You want someone who's established, been there, done that, can actually have great dealings in this. So obviously, if the Chancellor is actually recommending that, that's a poor decision on his part.
Yeah.
That's why it's pretty obvious. I think he's more surprised that everyone was like, really? I can get away with this?
Well, Jar Jar isn't the only one that is sent to join him on that. He's also sent with, what's his name? I just want to get the senator's name correct. Wait, that's the other episode.
There's another guy, another name. He dies very fast. So, yeah.
Oh, Senator Karras.
All right.
Yeah, he was this old guy. He's introduced as sort of this old guy, and I thought this was in the second episode anyway, when Jar Jar gets sent to rescue Obi and Annie. And yeah, he dies in the crash along with a couple other clones, and I was like, holy cow! They show his dead body.
Yeah.
Like laying there after the crash. He's not bloodied or anything, but I was like, dang.
That happened.
Yeah, you and your family were eating dinner at the dinner table, and we were watching this as this was happening, and I was like, wow. Dead person.
Right there. And not only that, it ends with Count Dooku finally, when he's able, his binds for the first time in the episode are broken, and he's free. And what does he do with that? Well, he immediately uses the Force to force choke one guy, and he uses that guy's blaster to shoot his companion.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa,
that was so cool. That alone was definitely the best part of both of these episodes.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty dark, but at the same time, finally, Count Dooku, because you kind of at points kind of grow to like him in this, where he's engaging with Obi-Wan, Anakin, and you know, Obi-Wan at one point compliments him, saying something like clever or like whatever,
Mhm.
something along those lines, saying something positive about him. And, um, you know, and the same thing, there's like quips that go back and forth. And not that they've got a relationship there, but you find admirable qualities. And it's called out for the audience almost like you're supposed to, because Hondo Onaka even says, like, I want to be friends with both of you, even you, Count. Like, you're not so bad. Something like
Mhm.
that. Like, yeah, they're painting him in a nicer picture when he's all bound up. The moment he's free, he just goes
Rips
ham.
through him.
And it
Yeah.
reminds you, oh, this is actually who this character
Yeah.
is.
I along that point, since Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Count Dooku are sort of like tethered together by the pirates in that second episode, it offers some really fun moments between all of them where they are forced to interact and work together as a team. And I think there's some like really fun banter between all of them where Dooku kind of like takes a jab at Anakin and Obi-Wan is like, see, I'm not the only one that thinks that you're annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, and that's exactly it. He's like,
Yeah.
thank you,
Yeah.
Count, thank
Uh-huh.
you for seeing what I have to put
But
up
then
with.
I also caught that Obi-Wan um tells Dooku that he's just as like unintelligent as the pirates. And I felt like that was kind of out of character because I feel like Obi-Wan and Anakin both know Count Dooku like is respectably wise.
I'm so glad we're talking about Obi-Wan's character for a second, because you said
Because you
something
hate
last
him?
week that you know that this it thought I thought a lot about it, and you said, would Obi-Wan see Barbie or Oppenheimer? And I really couldn't tell at the time, and you were like, oh, he's for sure Barbie. And I've thought more about it, and now I stand firmly in the camp where I don't think he's seeing Barbie.
Really?
I don't even know, he might see Oppenheimer, but Obi-Wan, if we put him in today's world, he's totally that guy that doesn't have a TV. He doesn't go to the
Mm.
movies. He's got his books. He's going to, no, I'm not going to go see Oppenheimer. I read about it.
Uh,
He's like that guy where
yeah.
he's,
Doesn't have social
no, he's
media.
not on social
He's very
media.
elusive.
Yeah. And like, if you really want to catch him, be sure you go on his backpacking trip to
Mm.
Oregon, or otherwise he'll be in Florence this spring.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's Obi-Wan. He's not
Yeah.
seeing either.
You know, that I mean, until you see Barbie and Oppenheimer, we'll have to circle back on that. I also
As one who's
had
seen neither.
I seen now Oppenheimer, so I've completed my journey.
Mm.
But we did have a comment on one of our Instagram posts with the discussion that we had last week about Barbenheimer, and Patrick had said, "I think Padme would be one to watch Oppenheimer." And after he said that, I was like, actually, that makes a lot of sense because Padme is very much into like the political drama
Yeah.
and the high stakes of that all. And I bet she would be really into the performances. She seems like an award show girly. So
Yeah. I'm with it. I'm
I'm
with it
still
too.
so glad that we were both like Team Rex to see Barbie.
Yeah, I'm still standing totally behind that take where I absolutely think you would. And yes, we see in the comments here, we did make it today. We were a little late to the recording. For folks who don't know, we record these every Thursday live at 8 o'clock. So join in the conversation
You
with
say
us.
it live at 8 o'clock,
Central time.
but as you know, it's a little bit after 8 for
Yeah, it's
most
a
of
little
you.
bit after late. I was busy on
Mm.
another podcasting host where I just had both Dark Chaco and Element 7 hosts of Dyad in the Force on that podcast. And so that was, anytime you get to have those guys on, the conversation sometimes can run a little long, but we're here, we're doing this now. And
I mean, the only other thing that I really want to talk about is
and then the end of the episode.
no, is Hondo Onaka. We get his first Clone
Hondo
Wars
Onaka.
appearance here.
Yes. Now, in the comments, we finally, for our audience, most of our audience is podcast audio only. And KG is the loyal listener who always shows up to the live episodes. Whereas, again, most of you listen on demand and we love it. Live, KG, you're always there. She said in the comments here, just watched episode 11, which means she's finally seen it. So all of
Wow.
those folks who listen on demand that have been following this, now they know Katie's finally done. There's like a poll that went out. Will KG,
Will
will she or
KG
won't
ever
she?
watch one?
And she did. She watched it. So yeah, I'm curious as to what she thinks of Hondo Onaka because for us, we've known this guy for so long,
Right.
and he's
So
he's
even though like I am excited to see him and introduce him, I still only gave the characters like a 5.3 because like yes, I'm very excited for Hondo to be a part of the story, but in this episode alone, his character is just being introduced. I do really like the scene where Anakin and Obi-Wan have to show up to like Hondo's like hideout. That's a good name for it. Hondo's
Hondo's
hideout.
hideout. Sounds like a
Where
bar.
where yeah, well, they are a bar and they're like feeding drinks to people and
Poisonous drinks.
yeah, at the very end of the episode, one of the Weequay pirates like put some poison in their
Roofied him.
drinks and the two of them like swap them out when they do their cheers. And I found out that at the beginning of the episode, Obi-Wan and Anakin wake up after being drugged with their drinks in the second episode. However, at the end of the previous episode, they had switched out their spiked drinks. The show originally had webcomics posted on the official Star Wars website, which tied into the various episodes. This was the story that required you to read the comic to understand how Anakin and Obi-Wan were captured by the pirates. And it's actually Pilf Muck Muck who is the what is it? This what do they call it? Monkey, the
Oh yeah, those things. Those
salacious crumb of
Yeah.
it. He gassed the entire room. So that's sort of the missing piece of the story where you're like, how did they end up being
Yeah,
captured?
I was
Because they just
wondering.
were like, huh, we're too smart for you.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm glad you did that research because I was curious and I didn't care enough to do it. And
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
glad.
that's an interesting aspect. I wonder how long they did the web comics. I kind of want to look into that a little bit more and see at what point did they decide to like scrap it. Like nobody's reading these web comics. But yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I mean overall, when we look at the rankings for this episode, let me pull it up here. We've got woof. The first one, 47.1. And the second one, 47.6%. So
Oof.
not hot.
No.
They're interesting. The best parts of these episodes were for sure when the characters were at their best. Really, that was just Dooku and Hondo Onaka.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing about Ahsoka, the clones, Anakin,
Jar
Obi-Wan,
Jar.
Jar Jar. And I mean, we talked about it. We were looking at each other. There's a lot of dialogue between Anakin and Obi-Wan throughout that's just painful. Just painful, circular
Yeah.
dialogue. And so, it hasn't hit its stride yet. It's going to, but right now there's a lot left to be desired. So overall, we gave this arc the weakest arc yet.
Ooh.
Yeah, as far as scores, it looks like 47.35, which is the lowest. Looks like Nuke Gunray 64.4 with Malevolence at 53 and R3S6 at 49.65.
Ooh.
Yeah, the Clone Wars
It's
season one's
a
getting.
it's a climb. It's a climb.
Yeah,
KG said
stumbled.
the Space Cadet Kenobi was cute, and I would have liked to ride on that slide that Annie took to try to catch Dooku. And that's so funny that you say that because as soon as Anakin and Obi-Wan approach Dooku and he like pulls the lever and he like has a trap door shoot, I look over at Brody and I'm like, he like always has a trap door shoot. Like everywhere he goes. That's just like really on brand for him. So
it's just kind of weird.
yeah,
Can we just say?
like I want him to be in like the most random places and just like pull out a button and it's like, oh, we're in like the middle of the desert, but oh, a chute just drops and it's his escape.
He's in Walmart.
Yeah.
Oh no.
The line is too long.
Yeah. It's just for dumb reasons.
I also in the second episode, which was titled "The Gungan General," one of the pirate bikes that they're riding in the outside has a mud flap girl painted on the nose. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Do you want to see?
Did you want to see? Wow.
Do you see that?
Okay. See, season 1, you're right. Season 1, they did not hold a lot. It was weird. It's like it's a kids show, but we're gonna throw some stuff in here. We're gonna throw some murder, some
murder.
Yeah, we're gonna throw some murder your way, and
And they
some
had the like
pinups.
pinups.
Yeah.
It's I was wondering um how far they were going to take it in like Hondo's hideout, because there is like a woman like dancing on the table. I was like, what kind of bar is this?
Yeah, and that's
It's
that. I was
like,
kind of worried for a
what are
second.
they going to be
I'm
doing?
like, what is happening here, Cartoon Network? You're
Yeah.
getting a little more dicey
I
than.
mean, if you remember those like 90 early 2000s Cartoon Network shows though, they were like raunchy.
I don't really remember them that well. Besides Ed, Ed, and Eddie, which I 100% know. Like that was like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's getting made on any kids platform now.
Yeah, definitely. No, I remember being like a young kid and Ren and Stimpy was on, and I remember kind of being traumatized by it because I was like, what is going on? Why
Yeah,
are they freaking out so much?
yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens when adults on drugs make programming for children.
Well, that's what I heard about like SpongeBob too. It was made
Yeah.
for like adults.
It does have like that tongue-in-cheek humor, which is a really fun way to do a cartoon.
Yeah. Have you seen any of those TikToks, by the way, where they plug SpongeBob and Patrick into other things?
Mm-mm.
Oh my, that's my thing this week. I'm
Wait,
sorry.
like
Well,
their voice or like
oh no, it's them. Like someone, through rotoscopes, like take some at 3D green screens them, whatever, and they take them outside of that and they plug them into something else. Like they had Dragon Ball Z where Patrick Stewart's just mocking Goku as he's like charging up for like a Super Saiyan and
okay. No,
Patrick.
I have heard like each of the SpongeBob characters, their voices have been thrown into AI and then they sing popular songs.
Okay, I've
So
seen
it'd be
some of
like
that.
Plankton singing like running up that hill, you know?
Wow. All right. I have seen some of those things, but I'll have to show you after this because, yeah, like I said, Goku's just getting ready to go ham, and Patrick's on the sidelines. Just, if you could only see how dumb you look right now. It's just like, it's so funny. It's so funny. I'm not doing it any justice. Put a link in the description, y'all.
Okay.
Go do yourselves a favor and check it out. It's hilarious. All right. But without Christian, we are really off the rails
You know,
completely.
I mean, this episode is a little off the rails.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really a whole lot to dissect. Look, Anakin,
It was really much like a bunch of like cat and mouse. Like we start off
yeah,
like, oh, we're here to catch you. Oh, you escape? Well, we're gonna catch you. And then like, oh, he escaped again, but we're still gonna catch you. But where did he go? Oh, we caught him, but we're also gonna catch you. And now you're all going to try to escape, but I'm
yeah,
gonna catch you. That was literally the whole story of both of those episodes. So
yeah, and that's exactly it. Anakin's caught, but then he gets free. But now we've got Dooku. But oh no, Dooku got away. So now we got to go get Dooku. But now Dooku's in custody of the pirates. So now we're going to go get him.
but
Oh,
now
but now
let's
we're
now let's
kidnapped.
fuse them all together and make them all, and then they all tried to escape like two different times and they get caught both times, and it's like uh, what more can we add to this plot?
I know. I'm like, all right, we're kind of hitting that same drum over and over.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Okay. My question for you though, at the end, Obi-Wan lets Hondo go free.
Mm-hmm.
Says, you know, we're men of honor, and we're not gonna like, which is stupid because like, oh, men of honor don't hold
People
criminal
hostage.
accountable. Like, what are you
Yeah.
what are you trying to tell me? Like, oh yeah, like you totally broke so many Federation laws. Now, obviously Federation. Wow, I've been watching Star Trek. You broke you, you broke laws of the Republic, and there's no way. I mean, obviously you're not in Republic space, but still, at that point, you could say no. Like, if you're going to do this, you're going to harm other people. I'm not saying I fully agree or disagree with Obi-Wan. I just think it's funny that on the precedence of honor
Mm-hmm.
is why he's going to let them go. So my question for you, if you're Obi-Wan in that case, are you bringing Hondo in? Are you punishing him? Are you leaving him be? Or are you like a full-on Sith in that moment and just letting him have it, Count Dooku style?
It was a cool, interesting plot device that at the end when Count Dooku escapes, um Obi-Wan and Anakin get to decide that like they don't want to take Hondo and charge him with capturing them and holding them captive. Um And Anakin seems upset about it. But I personally would be like, yeah, you can't get away with that. But I do like that Obi-Wan is like, we've got bigger fish to fry. I don't want to have to deal with all of the red tape and the bureaucracy of like dealing with you right now when Count Dooku is like the main focus.
Yeah.
So he's like, as long as like you understand that I'm like letting you go and we're cool, then we're cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of like that. That'd be the type of pirate you wish to see in the world,
But it's so pretentious. It's like, oh, I'm honorable. Remember
Mm,
that Count Dooku's not.
yeah.
I'm like, all right, good job there, Obi-Wan. Pat your own back. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Job well done. You didn't do anything.
I think Anakin, I don't know. I think I'd probably align more with him where he's not going to say anything based on honor. He's going to be like, look, I'm busy. So I got to go get
true.
Dooku. But just know, I didn't forget about this. And if I ever see you again, like I feel like that's Anakin's vibe.
I think Obi-Wan saying like out of honor was definitely like a little high and mighty.
Yeah.
You
That's Obi-Wan.
Yeah, definitely.
And he just sugarcoats himself in layers of pretentious BS. All right, I've lost so many fans. He's a nice guy. Hopefully,
he's all right.
He's okay. Obi-Wan learns a lot of lessons. I'm a much bigger fan of Old Man Obi-Wan. But anyway, well, I guess that concludes that part of the episode. We don't really have much else to say. We gave it like a 47.34 for that arc. So it's,
hopefully the second half starts to pick up. And honestly, we won't be able to finish the second half of this season because in just 3 weeks, Ahsoka hits the airwaves.
Yeah, and it's crazy too because we have a lot of. I mean, it's been unfortunate because with the writer's strike going on, and I totally understand this. There's a lot of amazing Star Wars content creators who aren't going to be posting anything about it, talking about it during that time, and standing in solidarity with the writers. Totally understand that from our perspective. I mean, if you want to know where we stand on that and why we're still going to be talking about it, go check out our previous episodes. We highlighted why we're going to still be going and doing that. But yeah, some folks won't be able to. We're not going to really focus as much on guests on that series like we normally do. And another thing, normally we do put out bingo cards for, like we did Mando season 3, and we are still going to be doing Mando again for
Mando.
Yeah. Bingo for that. Bingo. Yeah. Not Mando. We are going to do Mando again when they do season 4, but not now. We're doing bingo for Ahsoka.
Yeah.
That's the one. So if you want to do it, here's the good news. It's going to be 100% free this time. First time ever, we're doing it 100% free for our listeners. When you reach out to us, I think we had like 40 signups last time. So we expect, come on, we got to reach 100 this time. It's free. Why the heck not? Whole thought there is, well, hey, until the writers get theirs, we're not going to get ours on that front. So free bingo. Let us know if you want to play.
And it's just a fun way to like kind of watch along with the show. Last season when we did bingo for Mandalorian, my husband Jake would he printed out his bingo card. So every episode he could be like, oh, gonna check that one off. And then he would always be like, are you guys gonna count this one? You better count it. So that's just a fun little layer of competitiveness. And we'll probably still give out some swag as a prize if someone gets a bingo.
Yeah. Well, we've got to make sure someone gets a bingo. This last time it was crazy. Like we had so many people that finished at like 4. I was like, wow. Because they all started so hot and then the show went in a direction that no one could expect. Bo-Katan became the main character.
Yeah.
And then and it's like, oh, okay, well, it's gonna be hard.
But yeah, knowing that this is like unofficially season 5 of Rebels, that gives us a lot of like stuff to pull from,
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, I think it's time for hot takes, so let's get into it.
Don't be too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to rank content is insignificant next to the power of an exceptional hot take.
It is hot takes time, and I've got a hot take today.
Let's hear it.
So we find time and time again that the Republic, for which it stands, seems to be this pure thing for everyone on the inside. But literally, you've got Count Dooku, and by what they're going to do to get him, the transaction at terms. Obviously, Republic credits are worthless out there in the Outer Rim, so they're trading spices. So, and obviously, an enormous. I mean, I'm sure the equivalent of millions of dollars here. So, in order to do that, obviously, now I'm not here to say they made the right or wrong decision, but their hands totally got pretty messy in an attempt to bring Dooku in because they're like, whatever it takes. But one could also see on the outside, like, I understand why the Republic might take that approach, but if you're a Jedi, it's just another thing where I'm like, how many people are going to suffer because of the spice that's being distributed here? And it's not thought about in this episode, but the Republic's like, yeah, whatever,
Just give it to him.
whatever. And like the Jedi are like, yeah, and we'll facilitate that transaction. We're good.
First of all, where's the Republic just like drumming up millions of dollars of spice? They're like, oh,
Yeah.
let me go hit our spice dealer that we have on speed dial.
Yeah. Now, I do want to say there may be a point someone could add that maybe spice at the time wasn't what we know it as today, where it's this illegal.
Maybe it's
substance.
just like saffron is a literal spice, but it's extremely rare and extremely valuable.
Yeah, and that could totally be it.
It's
and,
saffron.
Yeah, it's saffron. It's 100% saffron. See, when I first watched this, I didn't even know anything about it, so I would assumed it's something like that. Something that has like, gold or silver, that kind of value. And so that could be the case here. But you know what? The Jedi and Republic have shown their hands are so messy anyway, and they'll do whatever it takes, that I'm going to say, no, someone in there knew that these were drugs used for illicit purposes. And yeah, the Jedi turned a blind eye to it. So proof of corruption.
Yeah, I think it's pretty damning. I would like to know more about drugs in Star Wars. I feel like I've brought that up before because we've talked about the death sticks and we've talked about spice, especially in The Mandalorian and in Book of Boba Fett. We also know that Poe was like a retired spice dealer. Like, does spice need to be refined before it has like a certain effect, like a drug? And I don't know. I think there's just like a lot of lore that creates sort of this realistic world and makes sense because you have to have these corrupt like mafias working with something, but it's also very like we gloss over it so much, so it's just spice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it highlights how governments in general have to do whatever they can to win a war, and it's actually pretty much never ethical. It's not always an ethical way to I don't think there is an ethical way to win a war. So
yeah, it's more for me the Jedi than
the Jedi doing that is really icky.
Helping broker that deal.
Like, maybe if it was a senator, I'd be like, yeah, like, oh, you're like all of them.
I mean, Yoda was like in the room. Like, they know what's going down. They're not like, whoa. What about the ramifications of all the people? Like, at what cost with this war? Or what's it going to take for us to? So, I mean, if they were, as we already know, they were blinded by really their own ego. Is what it seems. And so whatever it took, that's what they were going to do to get the war done.
And ultimately, like, the Jedi become very muddled in what their purpose is supposed to be in this war. And I think that's getting showcased in this like situation. I also want to bring up how when Obi-Wan and Anakin are searching, or no, Obi-Wan first boards the ship to find Anakin, he's just searching room by room. And he's not even using the Force to be like, oh, I know where Anakin is. I feel like they just really don't use the Force in the ways that they should sometimes.
Yeah, we talked about that too. That's another point. Yeah, that's like, why not? You're a Jedi Master.
Yeah, shouldn't you be like non-violence all the way and like
Mhm.
only pull out the lightsaber when you need it. But
Yeah. All right. So with my take, what do you want?
Oh.
Vote up, vote down. It's been a minute since we've done this. So
is it a? I don't know how to. What are you saying is the hot take?
I'm just saying the Jedi are more corrupt than we've thought. They're going out and they're saying they are definitely okay with all of these drugs being facilitated. They're going to turn a blind eye to it so they can end the war.
I think it's a
Regardless
hot
of the
take because nobody else has brought it up.
Okay.
And I agree with it. The Jedi are complicit in the drug war and can't be trusted.
That is a pullable tweet right there. They're complicit
There
in the
you
drug
go.
war and can't be
Hot.
trusted. That's a hot take right there. Roger, indeed. Wow. All right. Well, with that, I think before we close up this show, should we talk about some interesting Star Wars news?
Yeah.
So, Andor, as we know, is coming out with a season 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hearing more and more just mutterings that there's going to be some crossover action.
Wait, with what?
Well, they're not really saying. I mean, a lot of the folks believe it's going to be Darth Vader, but they said they're going to be crossing over with other properties and, can't be Mandalorian. So it's got to be probably something from the Obi-Wan series. Andor.
I did
Darth
see
Vader.
that Tamara Morrison had like approached Disney and was like, "You better give Boba Fett another season, I swear."
That
Something
really
like
happened?
Yeah. I mean, not in those words, but yeah, I think so.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty wild. I'm
not looking for Andor to try to expand in that way. Like, it has a very specific focus. It only has 2 seasons. What else?
I do think it does make sense to bring in, I don't know about the Inquisitors, but a Darth Vader figure, absolutely. I mean, it just makes sense. I mean, obviously, absolutely the Tarkins of the world and those kinds of folks. Like,
Reva?
I don't know about her either. Again, we're talking about unless there's a Jedi presence there. But you can absolutely see Darth Vader, Tarkin, the Emperor, those guys. Like, you'd love to see them because where we didn't see them in the first season, but these guys weren't a big enough deal for them yet. I mean, remember, at first, that's what I love about this. It kind of feels like a video game, and that the opposition, the adversary in the beginning, the antagonist, is Cyril. And to go from that to what will be the Emperor, now obviously, because the attack on, that Rebel Alliance, that's the ultimate last stand above Endor. And so, it's going to happen sooner or later. So why not introduce it in some capacity in this show? So lots of great writers coming on, lots of great directors.
And hopefully they can be paid.
Yeah, hopefully a little bit,
Hopefully just give him some money.
Hopefully just a little bit of money.
In other Star Wars news, maybe you should be familiar with, like, From a Certain Point of View is those like series of anthology short stories. The Return of the Jedi one is coming out soon, and it features a short story from the beloved Dexter Jetster.
Oh.
Which is a shout out to Christian.
Yeah, I was about to say.
His favorite character. And I know that Christian does have at least one of the Certain Points of View copies. So
be on the lookout.
Yeah, he's going to have to definitely get this one so he
come
can
on as a guest
read the short story.
Tell us what it's all about, because we're not going to read
it. There's a little snippet of the story. It's called The Veteran by Adam Lance Garcia. And this was posted on Star Wars Books on their Twitter. Dexter Jetster thought of the boy he had met on Lenara and all that the boy would never see. He thought of the warrior the boy had become and the war that had been lost. The war Dexter Jetster had helped start. Dun, dun, dun.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Maybe I will read it. Interesting stuff. Well, do we have anything else to say about Star Wars on this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks? Because I know we can talk about a whole lot of other stuff.
We could.
I don't think
I
so.
think
on
I
Star
said
Wars.
everything I needed to say.
You said everything. All right. Well, I want to say I fully back Tamara Morrison. If he really did go back to Disney and say we need a second season, I'm fully there with him. Hopefully it happens. So
Yeah,
that's all I got.
he threatened to go full Boba Fett on them if they didn't. So
What version of Boba Fett? The one that just like falls over and
No.
gets drunk at a party, or like
yeah, the like slave one shooting down the churchgoers. Yeah,
the innocent churchgoers.
Yeah, the bike gang.
Oh man. Well, all right. Well, that's this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks. Be sure to listen in. We've got a very, very, very special episode coming up. We're nearing 100 episodes.
100.
And we've had a lot of amazing co-hosts and guests. So be sure to be listening out for that one particularly, because we've got some really fun surprises for y'all. So anyway, that's this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks. Thanks so much for listening in, and we look forward to catching you next week as we break down more of Season 1 of the Clone Wars. See you then.